Let's get started here with IOT211. We're going to talk about how AWS IoT can help to revolutionize businesses and elevate customer experiences. My name is Matt Stanlake. I lead our IoT solution architecture team here at AWS. I'm going to be joined today by Dave Kranzler. He's the GM for our IoT services, and George Yanni, the CTO of the Philips Hue offers from Signify. We were talking just before the session here, and between us, we have about 45 years of experience in IoT connected products. Made me feel a little old on that. But one of the things that's really interesting with this is that we sort of look at the evolution and the changes that we've seen in this space. And we're in an incredibly exciting time. We've seen some massive changes recently, and we see this sort of continuing on into the future. I'm really excited to spend some time with you, explore some of these items with you. We're going to cover a few topics. One of the things that we want to cover is give you some examples of how our customers are using AWS IoT services today to really drive their business. And that George is going to come out and talk. We've got a couple other great examples as well. We want to share some of the new features and new capabilities that we have in AWS IoT services that we're launching here this week. And third, we want to share how we're thinking about IoT moving into the future. How do we in AWS sort of see how we're going to continue to evolve? Before we get there, though, I want to give you guys a little bit of the history about how we got to where we are today. I want to go back to 2015. This is the year that we introduced our first IoT service. It was AWS IoT Core. We had one service. It did one thing very well. It was a managed MQTT broker. As we worked with customers with the service, we started to hear it'd be really nice if we had some device management capabilities. It'd be really nice if we had more edge capabilities. It'd be really nice. And over the last 8 years, we've expanded that one service into a portfolio of 14 purpose-built IoT services. We are continuing to drive the evolution of our portfolio. So far this year, we've actually launched 37 features. I think the number is actually a fair bit more. Plus, that doesn't actually count what we're going to be launching this week, which is by far the biggest launch window of the year. So we're continuing to drive evolution, enhancements, improved capabilities in our IoT portfolio. The reason is simple. We've had massive adoption. We're helping customers around the globe. Every single day on our IoT services, we have 270 million devices on average connect to our endpoints. It's wild. It's like 250 million devices. Not all of our devices either for our customers connect on a daily basis. If you look over the course of a month, we're talking billions of devices sending trillions of messages to our IoT services. We've had an opportunity to work with customers across a range of industries as we've grown over the last 8 years. We've had customers like Vizio with their connected television. We've worked with Lockheed Martin on their smart manufacturing services. We've worked with Hyundai building out their next generation smart vehicle platforms. So as we've sort of worked with these customers, it's helped to inform our thinking about how do we continue to drive value and how do we continue to support our customers. When we got started, we really focused on the connectivity portion, those foundational building blocks that you need to get started with an IoT solution. As we've moved forward, we're recognizing there's a real need to build more vertical end-to-end solutions for targeted verticals. And that's some of our key thinking. And you've seen that with some of our releases our service releases over the last couple years. And I want to explore a few of these vertical offerings, like how are we really supporting these customers with our services. I want to explore some of those and some of those features that we have coming out. The first one I want to touch on, the first area, is smart factory, or smart manufacturing, or Industry 4.0, or industrial IoT. This has a lot of names. It's had sort of an evolution. Overall, though, what our customers are looking to do is how do they improve the efficiency of their factory floors? How do they start to connect the data that's coming from those factories together with their IT data to better drive business decision-making processes? Essentially, like, how can they get that single pane of glass that looks across this? One of the challenges with manufacturing is Traditionally, it's been very siloed. You can envision a factory floor which has some CNC machines. Maybe you then take that out, there's some quality assurance equipment, and then there's some packaging equipment. Chances are they all have automation equipment attached to it. There's a decent chance all of that automation equipment is completely independent from one another. Maybe there's something that overlays that, but none of that connects to the IT system, doesn't connect to the ERP. So we're really working on how can we start to help drive that. So customers are doing it for these reasons. You can see it's really how do we start to improve performance, improve business decision making, generate value, and really rethink how things work. Key for all of this is data connectivity. And how do we get that data, that OT, operational technology data, combined with the IT data in a single spot so we can really start to work with it. For us in IoT, we released IoT FleetWise a couple years ago. And this is our key tool for the industrial space where we can help customers collect, manage, and analyze data from industrial operations. I'm really excited to announce that we're continuing to evolve this and continue to launch enhancements. We have several new enhancements available on FleetWise. One that's really cool is we've introduced a warm data storage tier. What this means is that it actually has an ODBC connection on it as well. I'm not going to go into the details. We've got a Chalk Talk IOT211 that's going to go into all of the details on this. But the takeaway is that you can optimize your data storage cost by 70%. We're also introducing features to accelerate the process of getting connected to commissioning new systems, being able to reuse assets. Really, how do we make it simpler to access that data, work with the data, and less expensive? So this is some really exciting stuff, IOT212. We're going to go into details about all of those capabilities. Another new feature that we're launching today is the integration between Amazon Lookout for Equipment and IoT FleetWise. For those who aren't familiar with Lookout for Equipment, it's an ML service that you provide time series data. It will actually create an ML model that allows you to do predictive maintenance on your equipment. You have to send the data to Amazon Lookout for Equipment right now. From FleetWise, you run the model and you can get the results back. We're doing away with all of that. It's now a single click that allows you in FleetWise to create, run, and work with the data from the output from Amazon Lookout for Equipment. This is a great simplification and really starts to unlock the power of ML to people who might not be as familiar with it. So it's a really great addition. I think my favorite launch that we have this week is this one. A huge challenge in industrial spaces is the heterogeneous nature of the devices and the communication protocols that you have to work with. Every manufacturer has a different communication protocol. It's very difficult to talk in the native language of the devices. We've partnered with Dematica Easy Edge to use their native protocol support to integrate data, to connect directly to those devices, pull that information out and make it available in FleetWise. This allows us to talk like with Siemens S7, Profibus, Profinet, Ethernet IP. These are all the major industrial protocols that you're going to encounter on a factory floor. So this is a great opportunity to streamline the process. Again, on Thursday, we've got our Pro 203 session that's going to go into more details about how this process or how this integration works. And the last sort of on this partner angle and like how we're working with partners and making life more simple for our customers, we're going to be making our IoT FleetWise Edge component available on the Siemens Industrial Edge marketplace. What this means is existing Siemens customers, which there is a lot of, can actually go to the marketplace, choose to download FleetWise Edge to their on-site system, use that to access the data from their devices which are already connected to that system. Again, we're working to make the data more accessible, easier to work with across the board, so you can actually start to get to value, get to decisions faster in a host of different ways. A lot of this we've been talking about sort of with data. How are we working with data? How are we doing this? Our customer Invista is actually provides an example of how we're looking more holistically at the industrial space, about the smart factory. They're building out a solution around worker productivity. And what this does is that it combines the data coming from SiteWise with our IoT Twin Maker, digital twin creation service, to be able to create a live 3D view of their facility that integrates all of the alarms, asset information, and allows their workers now to go and actually essentially fly through and see where alarms and alerts are occurring in the vision of the site. It's driving improved worker visibility and really starts to highlight that end-to-end nature that we really want to look at with in the smart factory space. Another vertical that we're focused on about how do we build out that end-to-end solution is around smart vehicles. When we talk about that 270 million devices that connect on a daily basis to our IoT services, today millions of them are connected vehicles from our major auto manufacturers, tier 1 suppliers, and others in the automotive space. This is a huge growth area for our customers. And when we talk to our customers that are either building their platforms on AWS IoT or migrating their existing systems to AWS IoT, there's a few things that they all say is why are they looking at us? I'm going to touch on a couple of them. The first one is scale. AWS IoT has the scale to support an auto manufacturer to deploy 1 million cars or 25 million cars. And we have the footprint with our multiple regions to support that workload anywhere in the world, including China. So we can go where the auto manufacturers need to be. And the economies of scale that we have with our systems allow us to drive that price down and keep it as a cost-effective option for our customers. So we're continuing to evolve this. And I think this feature here is a great example of how we're introducing new capabilities that are really being introduced to support a vertical. We added MQTT5 support to IoT Core last year, primarily to support the automotive customers. There's multiple features in here like shared subscriptions and user properties that are critical for the smart vehicle, connected vehicle space. So we've added these into IoT Core. It's now available side by side with the previous version 3.11. Anybody can access it, but we've really looked at, hey, how can we start to make sure that we're supporting the needs of automotive with this capability here? And we're already seeing customers migrate and use this. Toyota has recently announced they're migrating all of their connected vehicles to use IoT Core, and Honda has recently done the same. We have a session, I believe it is tomorrow, IOT204, that Honda is going to talk about their migration from their previous broker to use IoT Core and everything that they've gone through about how they've thought about the whole connectivity story. So it's a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about how Honda is working with that as well. The data, we talked there about connectivity. We also need to manage data on the vehicle itself. Smart cars just keep getting, or automotive vehicles today, just keep getting smarter. And one of the challenges you have when you have a device that is generating truly terabytes of data an hour is how do you manage that? We introduced last year our IoT FleetWise service, which allows you to manage telemetry data on the vehicle itself. Be able to optimize what data do you keep on the device, what do you send to the cloud, how can you pick and choose? There's sometimes when you might need that data for training purposes. FleetWise allows you to start to manage that. Today, we're excited to announce that we are now in preview adding support for vision data as well to the telemetry data that FleetWise already supports. This means you can actually integrate now data from cameras, radar, LiDAR with the existing telemetry data that exists in FleetWise. It's a great addition to give you a holistic view of the data that exists on your vehicle. The last area I want to touch on is smart home. This is an area where I would say this is where we really got started with IoT. A lot of our initial connectivity was how do we support smart home manufacturers and creating those devices. When you think about the changes that have occurred in the smart home space in the last decade, it really is incredible. I looked this up. Alexa was launched 9 years ago. I was trying to think when I got my first connected devices in my house, and it was 8 or 9 years ago. And I had a couple. And since then, every year, we're getting more and more and more and more connected devices. A recent study put out that the average American home has 22 connected devices today. This is only continuing to grow. Now, one of the challenges that we start to see in the smart home space is, the big one is interoperability. It's a pain in the butt to get all of these different devices from different manufacturers to work together. I know on my phone, I've got a folder which has like 8 different icons from different manufacturers about how do I actually get this set up, and then trying to get it to work properly with Alexa and get all that stuff. It's inconvenient to go through and get all of this working. It's also a pain to set up because every single device has a different setup mechanism that you're going through. So these are 2 problems that the industry at large has seen and has really started to work with the Matter standard. This is a new protocol for devices that are being deployed in the smart home market that really works to solve these 2 problems. It proposes interoperability standards for devices in the home and provides a simple setup mechanism that's common across all of these devices to streamline this process. We at Amazon and at AWS IoT are deeply involved in this standard to continue to drive the simplicity and making it easier for customers to really drive this. And I think it's a good example of how, when we saw this problem, is that we used to have the connectivity building blocks, but all of our customers were encountering this problem with, hey, how do we start to work together? We want to be able to provide that complete solution for our customers. So those are just touching very quickly on a few of the areas that we're really working on to drive some of those vertical solutions. I want to ask Dave Kranzler now to come out to dive into some other real-world examples of our customers that are working with this data. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Matt. As advertised, I am Dave Kranzler. I am the General Manager of our IoT Foundational Services, and I've been with the company for a little over 1.5 years. Prior to joining AWS, I was an IoT solution builder for about 15 years. So I want to share with you one of the experiences I had when I was in your shoes. Now, who's familiar with Halloween? Anybody not familiar with Halloween? In case you're not, let me explain what it is. Every year on October 31st, children and some adults all over the country dress up in costumes and they go door to door in their neighborhoods, ringing doorbells and asking for candy. We call it trick-or-treating. The implication being that either you give me a treat or I play a scary trick on you. Now, what does Halloween have to do with IoT? Well, nothing, unless you build smart video doorbells for a living, like I did before I came to AWS. In that case, Halloween is absolutely the scariest day of the year. And why is that? Because on Halloween, as I mentioned, all the doorbells ring. From about 5 to 9 in the evening, millions of children pressing millions of buttons, sending millions of alerts, and uploading millions of video clips to the cloud. For homes that have smart video doorbells, your system better handle the load, because if you don't get that alert, the children don't get their candy and they play tricks on you. That's a bad situation. So when I joined this company, I inherited a system that had some trouble being able to scale on Halloween. And I got some very good advice from someone who told me, look, AWS has thousands of engineers working to solve this problem. You have 6. Rather than build it yourself, you should rent it from AWS. And that's exactly what we did. We rebuilt the system using IoT Core, Kinesis video streams, simple notification service, and a number of other services. We worked with a partner who helped us integrate them into a solution. And that way, my team was able to focus on improving the customer experience, reducing the incidence of false triggers, and generally making our product much better in a way that we could differentiate with. And so consequently now, Halloween is just another day. But enough of my war stories. Let me bring on somebody who is just released a smart home solution, building on his company's position as the leader in smart lighting. I'm pleased to present Georgiani, the CTO of Philips Hue.
Thanks, Dave. Before we start, I want to ask everyone to take a minute to look up. How many lights do you see? I think we probably have 100 lights in this room. But think back to the rest of the day. How many lights do you think you've passed under today? They're everywhere. They're on the street, they're in the hallways, they're in our hotel rooms, they're in our homes. There is no product that is more ubiquitously all around us than the humble light bulb. There is no product which is in every single room of our homes that we interact with every single day and is above our home for pretty much every activity we do in our lives. So why is it that still today many people don't think about lighting as more than something to help us see what we're doing? My company Signify, the former Philips Lighting, is dedicated to unlocking that potential beyond illumination. And my business, Philips Hue, has been doing that for the home for the last decade, reinventing the role of lighting in our homes and lives. Now, when we started with Philips Hue, we had a single very exciting light bulb. But over the last 10 years, we've been busy. Today, we have over 200 different form factors of light, ranging from bulbs to integrated fixtures to light strips, but also a broad range of accessories and software features that let you interact with and control lights in ways you wouldn't have thought was possible before. We've always approached innovation as an ecosystem. And what that means is every product we have ever launched is interoperable and works together with every product we've ever launched in the past and every product we will launch in the future. Every time we roll out a new software capability and feature, we roll it out to the installed base. So if you bought a light bulb 10 years ago, you're still getting software updates for it today to unlock new features like Matter that was just spoken about. When we talk about what lighting can do for your home, we tell stories around 4 key propositions or use case areas. The first is ambience creation, how we can make our homes more beautiful, personal, and flexible spaces. We talk about entertainment, how we can enhance any entertainment experience with surround sound, but for your eyes. We talk about well-being, how we can have light that supports your circadian rhythm to give you more energy during the day and help you sleep better. And finally, what we'll be spending the rest of the talk talking about, security, how we can help people feel safe in their own homes and give them peace of mind when they're away from home. There's always been a very natural link between lighting and security. The first thing you want to do if you hear a noise in the light is turn on the lights to see what's there in the shadows. But to really unlock that potential, we missed a few critical products in our ecosystem. And of course, we're talking about cameras. Now, the use cases that we can do with lighting for security are enormous. There's a lot of potential here. Lights can help us mimic our presence, so it seems like we're at home when we're not. Cameras together with light can act as a motion sensor, so that we can turn on the lights to take better quality videos, or as a security light, but not these dumb ones you have hanging on your garage, where if you walk up, the very obvious light turns on. Because it's a smart system, we could instead turn on a light in the upstairs bedroom as if someone had heard the intruder approaching the home. We can even use lights to make audible alarms even more powerful and impactful and visible from the whole street. So lighting, IoT systems, this was stuff that we knew, that we were comfortable with. But there were a whole lot of new challenges that were needed moving into this new category of smart home cameras. What we saw is that while we could build a lot on top of what we had an extremely steep learning curve to move into this new technology area. What's more, we are an established player. We have a premium positioning. We are renowned for quality, for innovation, and for user experience. So the bar we have set for ourselves is extraordinarily high. Our consumers expect that if we launch a new product in a new space, that it meets all of these criteria that's associated with our brand. So this was a huge challenge where we were like, okay, how can we actually get up to speed with all of these new things that we've never done before and launch first time right? And the other challenge we had is, while we have confidence that we're bringing something unique and exciting to the space, which will be successful over time, it's extremely hard to know how fast adoption in a new established category will be. After all, smart home cameras have actually been around for even longer than smart lighting, and we were one of the pioneers. So we needed a solution which would give us the time in this scaling period that was affordable and wasn't burning cash in the early stage by having an incumbent team, but once we'd scaled up, gave us an affordable, profitable solution. So we needed to balance that trade-off of not having too big a team at the beginning, but having the economics for when we scale up. I said we didn't want to start from scratch, and of course we didn't need to. We had a big, successful ecosystem with almost 100 million devices already rolled out in the field, which we needed to leverage and extend and build on. So, of course, the first thing we did was have a look, okay, what really needs to be new, and how can we build on our strengths? We chose to leverage the full software update pipeline. We're rolling out hundreds of millions of software updates to devices. We wanted to use that and all of the security and security mechanisms that we've built in to create, sign, deploy reliably software updates around the field in people's homes with diverse network infrastructure. We also, of course, wanted to build on top of our existing lighting and sensing ecosystem. We had the infrastructure to be able to control the lights, to hang sensors that run with extremely low power off our reliable Zigbee network in the home. And we wanted to build on top of that, including the powerful edge automation engine that lives inside every Philips Hue bridge. In fact, we decided to put a Zigbee radio inside every one of our cameras so that we could directly build on that and have the ability for the systems to interact even if there are issues in Wi-Fi performance or you're hanging cameras on the edge of range. We chose to upgrade what we'd built with our Hue account and our home model as a unified access and configuration layer for the system. That lets us build an integrated experience for everything where lights, cameras, sensors exist in the same control plane. We chose to upgrade our data backend, which was previously primarily there for analytics purposes, as a central point where all data was integrated and powered our event-driven use cases. But on the bottom of this sheet, you see a whole bunch of stuff which is new that we had to build from scratch. But of course, we didn't build it from scratch. We built it with building blocks so that we could take advantage of the scalability and the quality and the performance out the bat and not go on this steep learning curve for everything. We adopted Kinesis Video Services, AWS IoT as the backbone for our key video use cases of the camera. We chose to build our differentiation actually largely in the camera firmware itself, where we made specific choices to do all of our video analytics and processing in the camera itself so we could offer maximum privacy for our consumers. We also needed a new subscription service. This was actually our first case of having subscription-paid services as part of our offer. And there we decided to build on top of what was already available from the app stores. While other people are not doing that, we believe in user experience, and this always offers the best integrated experience for our customers. If we zoom into the new stuff, the Hue Secure backend solution, you see in this picture that we have built an architecture around event-based microservices, which heavily makes use of both serverless and managed technologies like AWS and Kinesis, but also DynamoDB, Fargate, Lambdas. That's let us build a resilient, decoupled architecture where we can build on these microservices in parallel. Specifically, AWS IoT Core turned out to be a great solution for this problem. It's the backbone of connectivity towards our cameras, but it's also what we've decided to link our app directly to so we can get real-time updates from things happening in the cameras to give that really great real-time responsiveness. We make use of the shadow state in IoT Core to be able to not wake up the camera if we're changing its configuration unnecessarily and extend battery life. We kept our backend small by making use of the rule engine to implement a lot of our business logic. And we really loved all of the tools that were there out of the box to debug thorny issues that we had in our scaled beta as we were maturing the product. When we started, we saw a lot of risk in the video services. We'd never done anything like that before in my team. Things like WebRTC, HLS streaming were totally new to us, and we had heard some horror stories about how companies had really struggled to make that work with good performance at scale. But actually, this turned out not to be a big problem. And by using Kinesis video services, we were able to get that running out of the box with limited effort, but also with good performance without a lot of tuning. So it really freed up our engineers to focus on parts which were more important for our differentiation. We'd never productized a notification system, push notification for mobile phones. We'd done things in trial, but we'd never done something at scale, productized. And again, the simple notification thing with some service was something that just worked out of the box, and we didn't have to spend a lot of effort getting this thing which just needed to work functioning properly at scale for our use case. So where are we today? A month ago, we launched Hue Secure to the world, 18 months after we decided to make this strategic move into a new space with the Hue ecosystem. So far, it has gone well. Our extensive use of serverless and managed technologies has meant we've been able to build the back-end solution of this with a small core team of less than 10 software engineers, which means we are able to run this in a lean way, but we also have a clear path towards having this run cost-effectively once it's scaled up. The launch went smoothly. We didn't have scaling issues or availability issues, and that is also fantastic because we've been able to deliver the availability that is expected of this space, but also my engineers didn't have to work on fixing and triaging and maturing these things. They could start working on the next wave of features we want to roll out to the field. The reviews so far are positive. We've been able to actually meet or exceed benchmark of performance metrics. If you open a live view session, the P50 latency of that before you get the first frame is 2.5 seconds, which compares extremely well to players who've been playing in the space for many years. The time it takes to start playing back a clip that's been recorded is less than 2 seconds. The time it takes to get an event sync coming through is a second. These are all things that are working with the high quality we needed for our product out of the door, with room to further optimize and improve. The portfolio today has outdoor rated, wired, and battery cameras in beautiful black and white colors, and we have floodlight versions coming soon. We have contact sensors in the ecosystem to go along with the millions of motion sensors we already have deployed in the field, all integrated in the security center of the existing Philips Hue app, where you can see the event timeline of everything that's going on in your home, log in for live view, and configure the push notifications that you want. We have big plans to do more in the space. There's a lot of richness that we can still tap into. We haven't even started really with how these cameras can be the most powerful automation sensor for having your whole home respond naturally to what is going in it for convenience use cases. But we have had a fantastic start to build on. I'd like to thank the Amazon team for being part of helping us build this solution and make this move for our space, and I'd like to invite Dave back on stage to tell us a bit more about some new stuff that he's going to be putting in your hands.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thanks, George. Whoops, they told me not to click too fast. Okay, so again, thank you, George. Maybe you're in the business of smart homes. Maybe you're in the business of connected cars. Maybe you're in the business of smart manufacturing plants. And maybe you're in something completely different. It's okay, we've got something for everybody. I want to talk a bit first about the basic capabilities that every IoT system needs to perform. We'll talk about how we bring those capabilities at AWS, and then I'll bring you some exciting news we're making public here at reInvent and also in the weeks leading up. Okay, when we talk about undifferentiated heavy lift in IoT, what do we mean? We talk about those basic but critical services that you need to build any type of IoT solution, irrespective of the problem that you're solving. It starts with the devices, the things, the sensors. You have to connect them. You have to secure them. You have to manage them. You have to pull data off of them. You need intelligence up in the cloud to be able to turn that data into useful business information. And often you need intelligence at the edge so that you can make decisions quickly when latency is a requirement, or perhaps even when data privacy or security is a requirement. I like to think of IoT as the nervous system, sending signals to and taking commands from the cloud brain, which of course are the analytic, machine learning, and generative AI tools that AWS provide. Now, let's talk a bit about some of the breadth and depth of IoT services that we provide to make up that nervous system, as well as a sampling of the services that we provide that form the brain. To torture the analogy just a little bit further, the data, the knowledge, the learning that turns that nervous system and that brain into a useful engine comes from you, our customers and our partners. We provide these basic tools so that you can focus on what makes your solution unique and differentiated. As George just told us, he was able to focus on adding value through unique lighting solutions and edge intelligence. We took care of all that streaming stuff for him. Now, let's talk about what's new in the IoT nervous system. Let's start with device connectivity. IoT systems are basically networks of unattended wireless devices, so connectivity is like oxygen. At Embedded World in June of 22, we announced the general availability of our award-winning ExpressLink family of products. ExpressLink is essentially a connectivity module that's provided by our partners, and you can see we have a number of awesome partners here, that includes all of the networking, security, and software you need to connect securely into AWS IoT Core. It abstracts that problem away from you, so again, you can focus on what makes your device unique. All you have to do is write to a UART interface, about 10 lines of code, you're up and running. Recently, we expanded the range of choices from Wi-Fi and LTE to include Bluetooth Low Energy, which is going to be great for smart home builders, among other things. You just have to purchase the modules from our partners. You can be confident they work right out of the box. At the other end of the range spectrum from Bluetooth Low Energy, we have LoRaWAN. LoRaWAN is a low-cost, low-power, wide-area, long-range network that you can use to connect devices that send data just a few times a day. For example, a smart agricultural sensor, an asset tag, gas and water meters. Up until now, you had to set up your own network infrastructure and manage it in order to be able to use LoRaWAN with IoT Core. Not anymore. Pleased to announce that in conjunction with our partner EveryNet, we now have IoT Core for LoRaWAN public networks generally available in the US and UK, with more countries to follow. Your devices can hitch a ride on EveryNet's public LoRaWAN network with just a few clicks on the AWS console, and you can seamlessly connect into our cloud. This is a fully managed service. We take care of everything. You focus on your differentiation. Now let's talk about some of the tools you can use to add intelligence to your devices. If you've built a device with microcontrollers before, you've probably used FreeRTOS. I have. FreeRTOS is one of the most widely used operating systems for embedded devices in use today. It's available, as the name implies, for free, on MIT license. What the news is that we have opened up our code contribution guidelines so that we can invite you and the rest of the open source community to help us advance the roadmap. Recently, we announced support for IPv6. One of our community members introduced support for multicast over IPv6. So we're able to now move the feature set forward with your help, but it's still backed by the power of AWS. Now, FreeRTOS is for simple sensors and actuators. We have another solution for more complex devices. If you build more powerful IoT devices, you should be familiar with Greengrass. Greengrass is our orchestration service for IoT applications at the edge. It runs on Linux and Windows today. We provide a set of application components that you can download to Greengrass and personalize it, such as computer vision tools, machine learning models, things that you can train in the cloud and run at the edge. Now, we've recently made our open test framework available so that you can validate your application components for delivery to, and operation on Greengrass. By speeding up the validation using the same tools that we do, you can get out to market faster and you can improve the quality of what you deliver. That's pretty cool. But what I'm really excited about is our next announcement. We are now making our generative AI-based coding companion, Amazon Code Whisperer, available also to our customers to use to build Greengrass components. Code Whisperer provides you with code suggestions, static analysis tools, security best practices, so that, again, you can focus on your differentiation, your innovative business logic. We can take care of a lot of the undifferentiated heavy lift. So with Open Test Framework and Code Whisperer, you can develop Greengrass components as quickly and as efficiently as we do, or maybe faster. And we're excited to see what you deliver. Okay, now let's look at what we're doing to help you secure and manage large networks of connected devices. I have managed multi-million device estates multiple times in my career, so I know how complex it is. If you multiply the number of devices by the number of software versions, when you think about all the different configuration options, certificates, managing the state of your estate can quickly spin out of control. So what you need is a mechanism by which you can tell which devices have what software versions, and how do we bring the entire fleet up to the desired state. Otherwise, you have potentially the operator's worst nightmare. You have to either quarantine or replace devices because of latent flaws or security defects. Very happy to announce we have a new feature on AWS IoT Core Device Management called Software Package Catalog, which can essentially catalog the state of software versions across every device on your fleet. Now, what's better than knowing what version of software is running on every device on your fleet? Why, knowing where they are, of course. Recently, we announced a service called AWS Device Location. You can use that to extract reason the last location of your device, or you can provide the location data, or if the device is GPS, it can tell you where it is. Now, what we're announcing is the ability to cross-index and query based on device location, so that you can form groups and you can run jobs based on where devices are. So for example, you can use geoqueries or geofencing to take particular actions when a moving device has left or entered a particular area. This is going to be very, very helpful for asset management, as well as overall fleet situational awareness. Now, IoT really is all about bringing data from your devices into the cloud and turning that data into business value. More and more of this data today is now sourced by cameras, as you saw with George's presentation. Our final announcement is in this area. Very pleased to announce that Kinesis video streams have now included WebRTC protocol for data ingestion into the cloud. We have been offering WebRTC for peer-to-peer streaming for some time, and Kinesis video streams for ingestion into the cloud. Now you can use WebRTC protocol for both. What does this do? This helps simplify your device SDK, reduce its footprint, and WebRTC ingestion now comes pre-integrated with SageMaker and Rekognition. All you have to do is basically turn on the data ingestion feature, and that video can stream into the Cloud Brain where you can run analytic services and be able to index and run other queries on it. For video processing at the edge, in June we announced Kinesis Video Streams Edge Agent, which basically allows you to record and store locally and then upload to the cloud when convenient. What this helps you do is keep the cameras very simple and to be able to localize the intelligence into a local hub if that is what your architecture requires. So, key takeaways. What we've talked to you about today is building your IoT solutions from a solid foundation. Again, remember the thousands of engineers and all of the work we do to make certain that these services are reliable, available, performant, scalable, and cost-effective, so that you don't have to worry about that. Again, personally, I have broken my pick on that problem many, many times. It became much easier when I was able to hand that problem off to AWS. That allows you to innovate and scale faster and focus on what makes your product, your solution, your offering differentiated and positioned within the marketplace. So, how do you get started? Work with our SAs and in-house teams. Work with our partners that can help you use plug-and-play application components and solutions that may be available in AWS Marketplace. Or work with our consulting partners to set up a much more customized development to help you do what you want to do. Again, when I was a customer of AWS, I worked with one of our partners. They helped stitch together the services that created the solution that I needed to deliver. And with that, I want to call my colleagues back on the stage, assuming they're still back there, and we can take a few questions. Please do not forget to complete the session survey in the mobile app and let us know how we did.